Recording to the iPad. All right, so let's come and sit together in this co-created community of ours. It's a small class today. Main thing is that you're comfortable. So you can sit cross-legged, you can sit in Virasana. If you have hip issues, Tony, Virasana is the very best. So establish your seated posture so that you're comfortable and there's no struggle. No struggle, setting aside everything that has already been. And then give a good lift to your spine. So as the roots of the thighs descend, the side ribs ascend. Do this in such a manner that the throat doesn't restrict, the eyes don't get hard. And then pronate the palms at the roots of the thighs, be on the median line of your body. And then just today's instructions, very simple. I'm going to, in the words of Narayan Levinson, who is a director of, one of the directors at CMIC, Cambridge Insight Meditation Center. She was recalling Thich Nhat Hanh's work when he used the Gata. Gata is basically a short slogan. So on the in-breath, breathing in the here, breathing out, in the now, in the now. It's amazing how those two phrases, or for that matter, can be other phrases, help you stay with the breath, using the breath now as the object of meditation. Breathing in the here, breathing out, in the now, in the now. And it just allows you to settle down, to settle back, to set aside the past, which is really a construct, to set aside the future, which is another construct. And if you notice as you sit that thoughts come up, remembering, planning, judging, see if you can at that moment come back to the Gata, breathing in the here, breathing out, in the now, as a way of settling, as a way of setting aside. So much of our time is spent in the past, in the future, planning, remembering, regretting, judging. Be here now. And then if you'd like, you can repeat the vow, the Dalai Lama vow, the Bodhisattva vow. You can fold the palms in front of your chest. If you have a personal vow, you might want to repeat your own personal vow, or you can do this. May I be a boat, a raft, a bridge for all beings to cross the flood. May I be a resting place for the weary. May I be medicine for all who are sick. May I be lamp in the darkness for those who are lost. May I do so as long as earth and sky and galaxies exist, until all sentient beings are enlightened. I vow to be here to serve them all. So if you're hearing this vow for the very first time, it sounds very, very vast. Like, how is that possible? But the whole point of a vow is to incline your mind to make an intention to do that work, knowing that at times you will not succeed, and then of course begin again. So important, you all know, because you wouldn't be here in class if you are not on this path of wisdom. And then you can gently release your palms, place the palms on the roots of the thighs, and gently lift your gaze. Hi, Carla. Hi, Lindsay V. So we're doing Viparita Karani at the wall, and I will show it because I feel like I should get back into the demonstration mode. So I have, I know my setup. Basically, it's a bolster and a blanket. And then I have about a fist distance away. Now, one could somersault into it, but that's, clearly not for anyone who has a neck problem. The easiest way to do it is this way. So I sit on the side of my structure. I hold the bolster. My bolster has straps, which makes it a little bit easier to hold it. And then I swing my legs up at the wall, and this is what I hope you can see. My pelvis drops into that, it's probably about 5-inch well. And then you may not feel your shoulders on the floor, but as you settle into the pose, they will likely to come into the floor. If they don't, then of course you can put a blanket, another blanket underneath the shoulders like Sarvangasana. And then we'll start with the feet hip width apart. Let me just show you all the leg positions because we haven't done it since I've returned from California. Feet hip width apart. So Beth and Lindsay, no issues with the knees. All right, then you'll do Baddha Konasana. There's issues with the knees. You can put those spacers in, Beth, as I said. And then we'll do cross-legged, changing the cross. And then we scoot off. So the exit is toward the head side and placing the backs of the thighs on the bolster set. Okay? So I hope that was clear. And, if I know you're muted, but if you don't understand anything, please unmute yourself and ask. That's it, Gail. Swing the legs up. Start with the feet hip width apart. So the legs will feel like in a forward bend. We might get to a seated forward bend today. That's my plan. The chest is in a back bend. Elaine, if you don't want to do this pose, just lie flat with the legs at the wall. That's the very best. Because your head is not, well, then I would just do child's pose and just relax. You could do that. Or just, you could just do knees into the chest and relax your abdomen. Okay, have the feet hip width apart as they take you through it. That's fine. Elaine, you could just do, supported Shavasana with the chest supported, vertically. That's good, Nancy. So now put your hand on the navel band. Ideally, if you have just the right height underneath your pelvis, the abdomen, the diaphragm should spread from the center outwards. It should spread the diaphragm. That's why it's helpful for anxiety, nausea. And the pubic bone is slightly lower than the navel band as the pubic bone is dropping into that well. So if you think about it, the legs are kind of in that forward bend shape like Paschimottanasana. And Elaine, that's also possible to do if you want to switch over, which is where we're going to today. And just initially have the arms out to the side. It should be relaxing. And then when you're ready, take the legs into about 3 feet apart, running the inner edges of the feet parallel. That's it, Peggy. Just swing the legs up at the wall. Do tighten your kneecaps, activate the quads as you press the backs of the hamstrings into the wall. Winnie, that's really good. Not too far apart. And then look at your perineum. Imagine you had a pencil and you're tracing between the legs. See that right leg is equidistant from the pencil mark and the left leg is as well. Sometimes we, unbeknownst to ourselves, if we're not looking and we're not feeling, the right leg or left leg may be more out to the side. So if there's any restriction, just to say in the left side, then you have to adjust to the right side. Okay. Now, Beth, we'll come into Baddha Konasana in a moment, so you'll have your spaces. Lindsay V, you can put, just take exactly. You did a beautiful job. So Beth, the other thing, I don't know if you can see, if you have it in galley view, you'll see Lindsay, and I can spotlight, but I'd rather have you not come out of it. So you don't place the heels as close into your perineum. With knee issues, the feet can be about 6 inches like you have it, Lindsay, away from the wall, away from the perineum. So it's not as deep flexion. Beth, that's fine. Hold the outer ankle. Those who can, who have no knee issues, hold the outer ankle, the shin, and bring the heels, well done, into your perineum, and then widen the thighs away. Reach from the inner groins to the inner knees, pull back, and then you can do obviously Supta Baddha Konasana, which is one of the best poses flat to relax your diaphragm. Okay, these look good. So now, Gail, if you can, Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, widen the thighs away. Press the feet strongly. That's good, Mary Beth. So the backs of the knees look like they're coming actually against the wall, right? Yeah, the way you're working your hands, Mary Beth, is really good. Turning those inner thighs, inner knees, spinning the skin, inner thigh to outer thigh. Okay, beautiful. Now, here, it's interesting. Go back to when the feet were hip width apart, then Upavishta, 3 feet apart, and then now in Baddha Konasana. And you make your determination which of those legs positions, which of the 3 relaxes your diaphragm the most. So now, Winnie, you can drop the legs into Baddha Konasana. So we're coming into the 3rd position. Some of you, yeah, take your time. Okay, so now feel your abdomen. Sometimes for better proprioception, if you place your hand on your navel band, and can you assess the spreading? So what I would say, does it feel wider now than when it was hip width apart or wide apart? Just ask yourself the question, pose the question to yourself. It's interesting. You know, we do something and we should observe it and feel it. Observe and feel. All right, now what I'm going to give you a chance is, and we don't, instead of coming next to the swastikasana position, the cross-legged position, if Baddha Konasana is not spreading your abdomen the most, go back to the one that spread your abdomen the most. So it could be feet apart, 3 feet apart, or if it's Baddha Konasana, then stay in Baddha Konasana. Yes. So I see that many of you have changed leg positions. Some of you haven't. Very bad. Good. Yeah. So for me, Baddha Konasana, I would say for me, and again, it's not that my body is like your body. So this is what the practice, how the practice is transformative. You have to be aware. You have to feel. You have to observe. It also helps you stay present, because otherwise the mind is going down that litany of what to do. Okay. Now stretch the legs up, because some of you have the knees bent. Yes, now with the legs in extension, it's wise to now cross the legs. Doesn't matter which, will change. Stay there. So this is now cross-legged, Sukhasana, as I like to call it, with the backs of the thighs close to the wall. We'll get into your outer hips. If it's challenging on the knee, Lindsay V, yeah, that's fine the way you have it. Oh, that's good. Chin up, cross. Yeah, that's fine. Stay for about a minute. I hope this is helping you, Tony. And then change the cross, everyone. So you can see Viparita Karani takes, a while to do, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, depending on how long in each leg position you're staying. Okay. Now, when you're ready, the exit is important. So don't let your mind go to just willy-nilly, I got to come out of it. Take your hands, especially if you have long arms, hold the bolster, move toward your head side, and then place the backs, come off the bolster so that just the very backs of the thighs rest on the bolster, and change the cross of the legs and just rest there. That's it. Some people find this one very relaxing to the diaphragm. Lindsay, okay? If you need to come on, let me know, because I haven't seen you in some time. For that matter, I should have checked in with everyone to see how they were. Okay. All right, my friends, change the cross if you haven't already. Good, Carla. Let the backs of the thighs support it, and do note how the abdomen can really relax when the legs are on that bolster. It's wonderful. Also, a really good position for the abdomen if it's feeling tight, if you're nauseous. Okay, now when you're ready, gently roll to your right or left side, it doesn't matter which, and come up. So we're going to begin, and we don't usually begin in Prasarita Padottanasana, we haven't in some time, but I'm going to have you stand up. You can be in the center. If anything, if you need the wall for your legs, that's fine, because Prasarita Padottanasana, so if someone had a foot issue and they needed the outer edge of their foot against the wall, so you could see it this way. All right, so take the legs wide apart. Wide apart. You can do it freestanding or with the back left foot on against the wall. And we actually worked with these instructions last week. You have to press the feet down. First, spread the toes. Press the feet down, which will help you lift your arches up. Is particularly good, helpful for flat feet. See how when you lift the arches up, how it tightens the kneecap. Put your hands on your thighs. That's good, Mary Beth. Put your hands on your thighs and you feel how the thighs are active, right? Because the antagonistic muscle groups, the quadricep to the hamstrings are stretching, the quadriceps are active. Now, bending at your hips. So put your hands on your ilium bones, your frontal hip bones, not so much the waist. The waist is not the frontal hip bones, right? Actually on those bony protrusions. Feel them. That's where you're bending from. Okay, so I think of the trunk actually starting from those indents. Compact the hips, move the inner thighs away, and now bend forward. Place the hands on the floor. Some of you can be on fingertips. Some of you might need blocks so that the back is concave. That's it, Tony. Now, instead of looking up from the chin, which can aggravate the back of the cervical spine, look up more from the bridge of the nose, Good, Winnie. Turn the arms from the inside out. Don't let the abdomen sit. Beth, I think you can lift your abdomen slightly more away from the floor, so no one's a sinking hammock. That's it, Peggy. Okay. Good, these look good, especially those of you like Carla showing me from the side. I can see that your legs haven't come forward. Okay, and now place the hands on the hips and inhale, up you come. All right, so here's the premise. When you're in a wide decentralized state, which is Urdhva Prasarita Padasana, Prasarita Padottanasana is the name of the pose, you have access to your side ribs. And because it's symmetrical, you can evenly extend and stretch your side ribs. So now watch what we're going to do. I'll just show you from the side. So I'm taking the same position where I was. Now notice, when you bend forward, the buttocks go back. That pretty much has to happen. But then I adjust so my legs are perpendicular. Now watch. I'm going to walk out so the trunk is more like dog pose. And this extends my side ribs even more. But because I'm in such a decentralized leg position, I can really feel the side ribs. And because I can feel the side ribs, I can access right or left side to see if one side is shorter than the other. Okay, so one of the principles that we teach is when you're in these wide poses, you have more access to the legs or to the arms, to the armpits. Okay, so you can show me in profile, go back to Urdhva Prasarita Padasana. Now, one thing, yeah, that's it. Place the hands on the hips. Listen, those of you who, I would say in terms of jumping, you can jump, jump, jump. It's good for bone density. It's good for a lot of things, muscle mass. Or what you could do is bend the knees and jump wide apart. So I don't think, Carla, if this bothers any, let me just take a moment here. Okay, if you were to jump, 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 whose knees does that bother? Can you just show me? Lindsay? Okay, what about you, Carla? Beth? Okay, so you have to step the feet wide apart. It's interesting, for some people, it doesn't bother the knees, the little jumps. What bothers them is the back. All right, so when you're ready, jump the feet, jump, 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 or simply separate. Okay, all right, now bend it forward at the hips. take your hands, go back to the previous pose where the back was perpendicular. Gail, come back a little bit because now the legs are, yeah. Now here's the thing, when you walk out to extend your side ribs even more, don't let the legs come forward. So glance in your galley view, and especially if you're on the side, good Beth. So imagine I'm standing there pressing your thighs back, good Tony. Now Mary Beth, walk out when you're ready. Nancy, you've gone too far forward. You've gone too far forward. That's it. So the legs stay perpendicular. Have the hands wider than shoulder width. It'll help you open your armpits. Good. Now feel the side ribs, not only stretching, but stretching evenly. Stretching evenly. If you have tight armpits, I urge you to take the hands wider. Good, Tony. Really good. Now come back to the first position. Concave back, hands directly underneath the shoulders, and then we'll finish the pose with taking the head down. Some of you might need a block. So walk your hands back toward your heels, bending at your hips, good Beth, descend waist, side ribs, and head. If the head doesn't hit the floor, use a blanket or a block. So this is the second stage. The hands are close to the heels, head down. Take time, legs still perpendicular. That's why doing this pose with the legs at the wall is helpful. Okay, now come back through that concave one more time. Place the hands on the hips, well done, and inhale, up you come. So this is a wonderful pose to stretch the legs in a decentralized position to stretch the arms. Okay, now we're going to take that premise and do downward facing dog. Elaine, I think for you now, you could repeat Prasarita Padottanasana actually with your legs at the wall, which would be really good. All right, so now watch everyone. We're going to take down dog, starting in Tadasana, raising the arms up and work with the same principles, taking the hands to the outer edges of the mat. Those of you who can jump back, or jump back, or simply step back, okay? So you know I'm working on this thing myself. All right, and then take the feet to the outer edges of the mat. And again, see if you have access to the side ribs, make them even in the wide dog. So Elaine, you can do it in Prasarita Padottanasana. So stand at the top of the mat, do have the feet hip width apart.
Ronnie, I don't know if you saw my note, but I'm also not putting weight on my shoulders right now.
Oh, okay. So what you can do is simply, the very best way is, and Elaine, this is for anyone who's not, if you're not bearing weight, then you take your chair, you have the backrest here, and you do pretty much the same thing. And you can step back or jump back. Go wide. All right. So you're not bearing weight. All right. You'll have more access to your legs if you actually put your hands on the blocks. Good, Gail. All right, so here you go, Mary Beth, yeah, bend forward, jump, or from you, some of you can jump all the way back. Challenge your step. Have an inspire me moment. Okay, that's good. Okay, now I want you to feel when the legs are wider apart, Beth, you can go wider, Tony, good. How you have access to the side walls of the waist. Make them even, Steven. Hands on the blocks, which some of you are doing, creates more access to the legs. We talked about that last week. All right, now walk your feet toward your hands. All right, now the extreme opposite of that would be what? Feet together and hands together. This is clearly not for anyone who has a shoulder issue. Beth, you can repeat what you've done. So watch. We haven't done this in a long time. So my hands are together. I'll show it like this. My hands are together. Can you see that? Then I'll show from the profile. My hands are still together. Thumbs are touching. And then I go up and I bring my feet together. So it's interesting when the feet are together, especially if you have tight armpits, you will feel like the shoulder blades are jutting forward. Now, it's not to say that this is necessarily good or bad, but you do want to practice a narrow dog because it's harder to extend the side ribs evenly. So can we do that? You can show me in profile. Join the feet. Mary Beth, you can do it from Tadasana, Uttanasana, or just simply come down to an all four. All right, now up you go. Beth, you're gonna do the same thing, only feet will be together. All right, hands to yes. Yeah, if you're not doing it because of shoulder issues, have wide hands but narrow feet. And you won't really feel it, because the point is that when you have narrow feet and narrow hands, the access to the side ribs is less. And some of you may feel like, oh, this is really challenging. That's okay. The one good thing about this way is that you can have access to feeling your spine. Okay, now come down onto your knees and take the middle path, which is the classic way where the hands are shoulder width apart and the feet are hip width apart, the middle path. So we went wide, we went narrow, and now the classic way. Is that clear to everyone? If it's not clear, I urge you to come on and ask the question. All right, now see if you can get that same evenness in the side walls of your chest as you did in Prasarita Padottanasana. Elaine, you can do it in Uttanasana, of course. Okay. So it's important when you do yoga practice to do it different ways and to assess what you feel and how you can access it and make changes. Okay, and now when you're ready, walk the feet to the hands and up you come. All right, now we're doing a little bit more work for the hamstrings, which we haven't done in some time. All right, so you know I'm wearing these sneakers because of my feet, but you have to imagine I'm holding my big toes, and you would hold your big toes between the index finger, thumb, and the middle finger, all right? So watch, going to bend forward, hold the big toes, okay? Ideally, the legs are straight. If you need to bend the legs so that the legs are bent and the arms are straight, and then straighten them, that's fine. Go from bent to straight, bend to straight. Try not to let the buttocks roll back. All right, Padangusthasana with the feet apart. This is to stretch the hamstrings, but also to lengthen the side ribs. Raise the arms up. Raising the arms up helps you lift the trunk off the hips, which is a healthy action on the hips. Sides of the pubic bone are lifted. Good, Peggy. I'm glad that when you took the arms up, many of you didn't let the thighs come forward. Now bend forward. See if you can hold a big toe. Thumb, index finger. Get a good hook on those toes. Pull the toes up. Press the feet down like Prasarita Padottanasana. Turn the arms from the inside out. If you have to bend the legs, do so. All right, now go down. Let the elbows go out to the side and release the waist, side, ribs, and head. These are symmetrical poses. Does one side feel shorter than the other? See if you can make the right side and the left side, which is fairly easy to do in symmetrical poses. Good. This is good. Now place the hands on the hips. Inhale, up you come. Now Padahastasana, feet are apart. This time we'll insert the hands underneath the feet like this. See if you can get the toes all the way up to the wrist line and then go down. Same thing as Padangusthasana. Both poses demand, so take the arms up, everyone, without taking the thighs forward. And now exhale, bend forward, insert one hand, then the other. Roll the buttocks forward, because as soon as you insert the hands, the buttocks go back. Roll the buttocks over so the legs stay perpendicular. If you need to bend the legs, that's fine. And release waist, side, ribs, and head. Good. All right, now extricate one hand, then the other. Place the hands on the hips. Inhale, up you come. Now one more time, insert the other hand. So usually we do this pose twice. So if you inserted the right, especially if you're right dominated, insert the left. Raise the arms up, reach up, exhale, bend forward. That's fine, Ellen. We'll get there soon. All right, if you need to bend the legs, fine. No problem with the legs bent. You'll enjoy the merging of the abdomen. Good, Peggy. And now go down, go down. Full pose, head down, good. Beth, move the back, the sort of the middle section of your calf slightly to the shin. It looks like I can hyperextend the legs there. All right, now Place the hands on the hips and inhale, up you come. Elaine, you can join us in this one. Watch. So what we're going to do, I'm going to just show it freestanding. So I'm going to take, I think, 2 different positions for Parsvottanasana. So in this first position, I want to align my heel with the opposite heel, with the right heel aligned with the left heel. The classic position, if you don't know, is actually heel to arch, which is slightly narrower. So I want you to make a comparative study in when you come forward into Parsvottanasana, heel to heel and then heel to arch, which one makes you assess your side ribs more acutely, and then can you manage to make the right side and the left side even? And I will allude to a little bit more of the hips. All right, so if you need the back wall for your left heel, that's fine. Otherwise, you can do it freestanding. All right, so now the first position, which is slightly wider, that's our principle today. Your right heel is aligned with your left heel. All right, so you have to turn the right leg out, turn the left leg in. All right, so already I can see, I'm going to show this. So one of the things that's important, and we'll get to the chair, when you bend forward, this right hip has to draw back. This left hip has to come forward, because otherwise, if this left hip stays back, there's no way you're going to make the side ribs even. And I'm going to do it with a chair today so you really feel it. All right, first of all, press the feet strongly down. Suck the outer, this is the right shin, into the midline. Hit it in. Now, bending at your ilium bones, take the very first stage like we did in Padangusthasana, Uttanasana, chin up, look up. All right, chin up, look up. Right outer hip is moving back. Left hip is coming forward, and now go down, go down, go down. Get the chest, good Gail, onto the thigh. If it doesn't touch it, so be it. Okay, now inhale, up you come. All right, now do a heel to arch, which is the classic, just like the classic of dog is feet apart, arms shoulder width apart. So now heel to arch. So if you took a strap and put it at the right heel, we're still doing the right leg, it would be in line with the left arch. So it's slightly narrow, slightly narrow. This time, raise the arms up to get length, to lift the trunk off the hips, pubic bone ascending without hardening the throat. Now come forward. And again, move the right hip back toward the left heel. Move the left hip forward so that the left side, or I should say the right side, isn't shorter than the left, and then bow down, bow down, bow down. It's a hamstring stretch. Peggy, that's really good, and the legs are wide. Outer right hip, that's your mantra. I will say that if it's hard to move your outer right hip, do you remember what I used to teach all the time? Lift the right foot up. Lift the right foot up. That will help you, good Mary Beth, to move the right hip back. Okay, now inhale, come up. All right, now try this. We never do this. I'm going to take a chair, and it kind of has to be a yoga chair where it has this rest. All right, let me show. All right, so I'm putting this back rest, what I alluded to, those frontal hip bones. So watch, I'll do it this way. All right, so I'm holding the back rest of the chair. Then I'm going back to that heel arch alignment, which is the classic way. Make sure I can see me. And I'm putting the back rest right in those frontal hip bones, right? So then I can lift the trunk, lift the pelvis off the femur heads, which is the rotation in a forward bend. And now I have to judge, is the left hip touching the back rest? No, I have to bring the left hip forward, and now my frontal hip bones are evenly touching. So this back rest is basically a reference point to see if your hip bones are even, and then of course go down. And what's really nice about using the chair in this flat configuration is you have the legs of the chair to walk down. All right, is that clear, everybody? So what's really nice about the chair is use the chair to lift.
Ronnie, are we staying with the right foot forward?
Yes, Yes, because I want you to make these comparative studies. So we did the right side twice already. This is the third and final time. Is that clear, Nance? All right, step back, good, Gail. Now, use the backrest to lift the pelvis off the femur head. Come forward, legs are straight, and now find out what happened. So the backrest is a reference point. Is the right frontal side hitting the backrest more than the left? That will mean that you have to bring the left hip more around, right? That's fairly obvious. And then walk down the legs of the chair and go down. Gail, that's really good. For some of you, this will help, especially when we come to do a seated forward bend. I can see, Beth, that seated forward bends will be your forte. All right, now place that. You can walk up the chair if you feel so inclined, it might be safer. All right, now we're going to do the same thing. Just set the chair to the side. We'll do the same thing. So we're doing heel to arch, and then we're using the chair. All right, so here we go. Left leg in front, right leg back. Heel to heel, which is a little bit wider, This often helps people with scoliosis, the decentralized position. Raise the trunk. If you like, you can take the arms up, but it's not necessary. And I will say that if you extend the arms forward, that's harder on the back. So I would raise the arms up to lift the trunk off the hips, but then put the hands back on the hips, bend forward. Now, because you had the chair there on the right side, you'll be in a better position to judge. If that chair was still there, is my right frontal hip bone back? Bring it forward. Imagine you have that chair there. The frontal hip bone should be touching the backrest and then go down. We're using this today to make the side ribs even. Know that when the left leg is in front, the left side tends to shorten, the back's right side tends to be longer. Can you use these different positions to not only feel your side ribs, but then can you adjust? That's the key. All right, now inhale up, you come, well done. Now you're doing the heel to arch alignment, which is the classical, more narrow. Remember, you can always use the back wall for your back heel. All right, so again, you can begin with arms up and then hands to hips. I will say that when you extend the arms forward, it's harder on the back. Seal the back heel down, suck the left shin in, and now bend forward. That's it, Beth. That's it. Lindsay, you can go a little wider, inch out with the front foot or the back, and go down, leg straight, leg straight, leg straight. Tony, I think the blocks are a little bit high on the, too high. Put them on the medium side and be on fingertips because they're causing your back body to lift. Okay, assess your side ribs, make them even. No, again, left side wants to be short. You have to move the left hip back, roll the right ilium bone forward. Now inhale up, you come. All right, now final time on the left side using the chair. Using your chair, the backrest. Left leg is in forward. Now use the chair for two things. At the very beginning, get the lift of the pelvis off the femur head. And then bend forward. Back heel needs to be down. Now, find that even as your heel to arch. Don't let the left side. Now, feel yourself. The backrest of the chair should be evenly pressing into the left and the right hip, right? So now there's something metal there. You could also, if you didn't have a chair, you could use a dowel. I did it the other, Peggy, that's really good. Now walk down the chair and go down. Dale, excellent. These look, I think some of you are getting, at least from my vantage point, getting better poses with the chair. You're going deeper, right, Gail? Deeper into the forward extension, partly because of two reasons. The pelvis is rotating over the femur head and you have something to walk down. Well done. Inhale, up you come. All right, now we're going to use this. I hope you all have two straps. If you don't have two straps, what we're going to use traction belt, then use a towel or something for the aerial right leg. All right, so if you were here on Friday, Lubna actually was not here today, unfortunately. She's in Aqaba. But watch. So what you're going to do, keeping in with our theme of making the side ribs level, is I'm going to show you on the left side, but you're going to put it around the left arch and outer right hip. All right, so look, you see this? I'm tractioning my left leg. You'll be your right leg, and I'm going to do Supta Padangusthasana 1. And notice how the strap is not in the groin, but actually an inch below it toward the knee side. All right, so you'll be, I'll do it your way. All right, so you'll be taking the big belt, or a belt, one belt if you have it, around the, and you can do it at the wall, which is the very best way to do the Supta Padangusthasana cycle. Left arch, outer right hip. Ideally, the buckle belt should not be on the skin. Can you see that? Then I bend the knee of Kunchanasana or Ekapada Padangusthasana, and then I'm taking Supta 1. Now, the reason we're doing it today with the traction belt, one, because we haven't done it, and we will demonstrate it on Friday, is I want you to feel how this outer hip, this belt helps that outer hip cut back, which is exactly and precisely what I asked you to do in the previous pose. Look, Parsvottanasana, that right hip cuts back. I hope that's clear. Okay, so get your traction belts on. If you don't have two belts, use the traction belt around the root of the right thigh and just use a belt, a leather belt, or even a towel for the right foot. Start at 90. That's good, Nancy. Now move the leg. I want you to feel the root of the right thigh, the outer right hip. Sometimes we do it with our hand. So is this not Parsvottanasana? Yes, of course. It's Parsvottanasana, supine. Hold the belt with two hands and move the belt. Move the leg rather. Move the leg toward you. Move the leg. It starts at 90. Hips are balanced. Move the leg toward your chest. And then lift the chest, lift the head, lift the chest, lift the head, and bring the leg toward you. That's it. Should be easy having done Parsvottanasana. Liz, if you, Beth, if you don't have another belt, maybe you can hold the big toe. So we're doing Supta Padangusthasana 1.
Yeah, no, I do have two belts, but somehow I'm not getting the traction belt on right.
Okay, so let me just show you. I'll show on this side. So the very best way to do it is I make a loop. Stay with it, everybody. If your head is up, you can take it down, or you can support your head and neck with a bolster. Watch. So Beth, you see I'm hooking, I have a big loop. I'm hooking my left arch, and I'm getting it around the root of the thigh, right? Right here.
Oh, okay, I see.
It's on a diagonal. Once you do it a few times, you'll get it. Okay, that's good, Lindsay V. Keep going, keep going. These are leg stretches. Good. I want the leg straight, knee into knee. Extend from the inner. Good, Mary Beth. Those of you can hold the sides of the foot, go to your maximum, or the back of the heel, Mary Beth, as you're doing. So go to your optimal pose, right? We talked about sustaining the effort involved. You can hold the big toe, so you don't need a second belt, Beth, because you're flexible in your hamstrings. All right, change sides. Beth, you can stay on this side. Everyone else, flip the traction belt over. So now it's going around the left thigh and right arch. We haven't done this in a while, but I want you to see how now the belt is doing. Now, could you do Parsvottanasana with the traction belt on? Yeah, it's just cumbersome. Mary Beth, if you want to do it, you can. All right, left leg, Supta 1. All right, these look good. I want you to feel the E. When you get the hips balanced, what happens to the side ribs? Then they're even. Then they're even. Remember, no hills and valleys in the legs. We want those legs to be sleek. No hills and valleys. That means that the knees aren't bending. Knees are not bending. That's it. That's it. And then if you feel, you can raise the chest, raise the head, hold the sides of the foot, some of you, or hold the back of the heel, that's it, and take the leg to you. That's really good. Okay. Look good. Okay, now just release the leg. Take a quick Supta Baddha Konasana because the inner thighs often get tight after the Supta cycle. And we're only doing one of the Supta cycle. We did on Friday and last Tuesday, all of them. Lying on your flat. Anyone, Lindsay, you can walk the heels slightly away from the perineum. Yeah. Just relax your back after Supta 1. All right, now you can roll over to your side. All right, now with the same theme, let's take Dandasana with the feet apart. So again, we know that when we're in a decentralized position, we have access to the backs of our legs more. So imagine I'm in your room, right? And I'm looking underneath your leg, and we don't want to see, any daylight. So you have to press the top of the knee down and simultaneously extend from the inner knee to the heel. And then lift, use your hands beside your side ribs. Don't let the buttocks roll under. So if your pelvis is doing this, which I don't see anyone's kind of getting caught underneath, then of course sit higher up. Now seal the legs to the floor. No part of the back of the leg should be away from the floor. Turn the thighs from the inside out and lift the chest. Okay, now just close your eyes and feel when the feet are hip width apart, how much you can feel the right leg and the left leg, how much you can feel the right side of the ribs and the left side of the ribs, even again. Now see if you can, when you change the feet to the classical position, obviously together, which is our theme, can you maintain the broadness and the backs of the legs, or do you find the legs want to fly up? So you have to work the legs much harder. And this is like what we did that narrow dog pose, isn't it true? When we were in the dog pose narrow, it was harder to stretch the legs. Seal your legs. It's a lot of work for the knees, for the quadriceps, as you extend through the heel. Lift your chest. Okay, now go to Upavishta Konasana, very wide, very wide. Now this is the pose such that the metrics are such in Upavishta Konasana that in this pose, all of the leg, both right and left, are covering the floor. There's no other pose that exists in the yoga asana world where more of the leg covers the floor. So enjoy that. Again, if your buttocks are rolling under, which we don't want, it's hard on the back, then elevate your pelvis, lift your trunk. Beth, try not to have the trunk is slightly coming forward. Keep the shoulders, which is often, especially with long arms, the tendency. Okay. Seal the legs to the floor. Now, in a moment, and I know that some of you may not have the props to do this. We are at, it might be a bolster you'll need or a belt. You're going to come forward any amount. So what's nice, if you had that long traction belt, especially if you had 2 of them, but don't worry if you don't have 2 of them, you could put it on each foot. But if you only have one long one, then you can put the belt across the arches of the feet in this manner. This is for some of you, and hold the belt. But I'm going to show you from the side. I want the back to be concave. Now, for those of you who don't need the belt, like Padangusthasana, you could hold the big toes here. And then for some of you, might consider coming forward. Okay, so first, seal the legs, raise the arms up. That's it, Gail. lift up, but when you lift up, keep the legs, memory, 90% of your brain in the tops of the thighs. Now reach for your big toe or the outer edges of the feet. Find out in reaching for the big toe or the outer edges of the feet, did you lose the contact of the legs with the floor? Don't let the knees roll in. Look at the four corners of the knees. They're facing straight upwards. Stay there with belt or holding the big toe. Some of you are going to the outer edges of the feet. Now assess your diaphragm right here. The diaphragm should not move back. It moves with the spine as you come forward any amount. Come forward any amount. Those of you who are not coming forward, not a problem. Not a problem. If you've had back issues, stay in the concave. Gail, that's good. Tony, stay in the concave. Good, Carla. Lift the elbows up, because when you lift the elbows up, it will take the thoracic spine away from the ceiling. And that's what we want. If that's good, make sure, because the camera angle in coming that far forward, don't lift your outer thighs up. Just imagine I'm standing behind you, sealing your outer thighs down. Very good. All right, and now inhale, up you come. All right, now we're going for the pose, which we haven't done in a while, Paschimottanasana. So we're going to start with a wider Paschimottanasana. Watch. So I'm starting with my feet hip width apart. Okay, I'm going to come back to that first Dandasana where the feet were apart. I'm going to raise the arms up. Again, raising the arms up, I press my legs down. I'm going to hold my big toes, make the spine move in. So just like Paschimottanasana, and then I'm going to walk the hands to the outer edges of the feet, lift the elbows up, and come forward any amount. Now, some of you might need some height underneath your pelvis. For someone who has a hard time, which I don't think anyone in this class has a hard time with coming forward, the very best way then would be this. Let me just show this. Is sitting on a chair, on the seat of the chair in the very center, feet to the wall, and reaching out to the wall. See? So if forward bending, you don't do a lot, it's challenging on your back, then I would urge you to do it in this manner. Otherwise, you can sit on some height. All right, so let's see these. Have the feet apart. Tony Villa, sit on some height. Now take the first stage where the back is concave, you're holding the big toes, turn the arms from the inside out. Okay, now remember the pelvis has to rotate over the femur head, go to the outer edges of the feet, lift the elbows up and come forward any amount. Lift the elbows up. The thoracic spine should move away from the ceiling. Now find out in coming forward, did the legs fly up? Seal the legs good to the floor. Seal the legs. That's it, Maribeth. Come forward any amount. Lift the elbows up. Move the diaphragm forward. Don't let it's an unhealthy action for the diaphragm to stay back and the spine to come forward. Okay, now inhale, up you come. All right, now we're going to try it a different way. Watch. So to get more length in the side ribs, which is what we're working on, this is how we're going to do it. This is my very favorite way. So I'm going to take the bolster and put it against my feet. And again, this bolster is nice because it has the straps. All right, so watch. I'm keeping my legs bent and they're hip width apart. Wait, hold on. Keeping them bent and they're hip width apart. I'm going to raise my arms up, go for the concave stage, and then slowly I'm going to synchronize, pressing my legs down, moving from bent to straight as I extend the diaphragm forward. Notice also that the hands, when they're wider apart, will help in that principle access your side ribs evenly. Carla, this should be really good for you, okay? So anyone who has any kind of armpit restriction, holding the bolster, whether it has the straps or not, is really helpful. So you can hold it bent, and then you lift the elbows up toward the ceiling and then synchronize, meaning happening at the same time, your legs straightening into the earth as you move forward. If this bothers anyone's back, then I urge you to sit in the chair and do it in that manner. The sitting in the chair, Tony, yeah, and Nancy sitting, yeah. I mean, I love, the chair is a great way to do Paschimottanasana. That's it. You're holding the bolster, yes. The hands are wider than the shoulders. Don't let the trapezius fall on the neck. That trapezius, Winnie, should be moving down. Don't let the trapeze, that's good, Tony. Yeah, in that manner. And then go, what, Tony, that's really good. Just in that manner. The hands are wide, the feet are apart. Tony, that's really good. Nancy, now just straighten the legs if you can. Any amount, any amount, any amount, any amount. Okay. All right, now let's try Paschimottanasana another way. And this is really a little bit of a primer for people who have a hard time with this pose. Clearly, Beth, you don't. Watch. So now my feet are together. And I'm going to put the bolster. The bolster is now on the tall side underneath my armpits. Carla, this should feel really good for you. So if anyone has restriction as I do in my outer armpits, when I place the armpits on this tall bolster, it gives the ability, you've probably seen Lana do this, it gives you the ability to roll the armpits and the arms forward. Try it in that manner. You can still sit on height. All right, try it that way. That's it, Nancy. And then just use the high height of the bolster to come forward. It's a little bit more easeful. That's it, Beth. Roll the arm. So use the bolster and the armpit support on the bolster to come forward. Tony, stay as you are. Good, Gail. Mary Beth, that's good. So it's supporting the armpits. Of course, you know, some of the bolsters are a little bit too high for some of your trunks, but that's okay. You get the feel. All right. In that manner. Feet are together now, moving toward the final posture. All right. Now we are going to do final Paschimottanasana, but not in an active way. The feet are together. This time I want the bolster not on the tall side, and I want you to just be able to rest. Oftentimes when we bend forward, there's a struggle where we're aiming to get a certain place. So can you make Paschimottanasana more of a restful pose by supporting your head? Just different ways to do it. All right. Tony can stay with the chair. Rest your forehead. Watch the spine. The spine has to come forward. Supporting the pelvis on some blankets would help. All right. Now, come out, and I just wanted to, just based on what I'm seeing. So part of what makes forward bends, Paschimottanasana in particular, so challenging, is if the low back muscles and hamstrings are tight. So many of you would benefit in a slightly different sequence. So I'm going to show this. So I'm in Dandasana, now I'm crossing my legs. So that automatically takes the hamstrings out of the picture. I mean, just basic physics. All right, then I'm going to extend my trunk forward. I'll show in profile. So for some of you, you might approach your forward bends doing a cross-legged position first, taking the arms forward, and then of course changing the cross. So do it in that manner. Let's see. See how much, yeah, Gail, let's see. See, so make, now again, observe and assess. By taking the hamstrings out of the picture, what has that afforded you? Nancy, just, yeah, anyone who wants to come on and say something. When you took the hamstrings out of the picture, can you feel more movement of your spine forward? Yes, Carla? Yeah, typically that helps. So then, you know, I'm trying to, so how do we make these classes not only palatable, but really help you change the cross? And for that matter, you know, someone can even sit here with the legs bent and come forward, right? That would be the easiest because now the hamstrings, Tony, you had done it here. You've taken it out of the picture, right? The main thing is that you're moving the spine forward. Changing the cross, everyone good, Peggy. Now, it's probably a little bit easier to not let the trapezius fall on the neck. All right, these look good. Everyone's changed their position. All right, now come back to Dandasana. feet together. And lift the trunk away from the floor. Seal the legs to the floor. Now keep sealing the legs to the floor. Raise the arms up. Use the arms to lift the trunk off the femur heads. Off the femur heads. All right, now if your arms are coming slightly forward, use the principle of decentralization. Go more to a Y position than a T position so your outer armpits can elongate. Outer armpits can elongate. All right, now you're going to do dog pose. Elaine, you can do Prasarita Padottanasana with legs at the wall. And we're going to do the harder one where the hands were together and the feet were together. And see if you have more freedom and evenness in the side ribs. Beth, you can do it in this manner. So the feet are together. And you can step back. Or Elaine, you can do it in this manner, so you don't have the weight there, okay? All right, so now take the feet together, hands together, for those of you who don't have shoulder issues. Now, see, Gail, that's good. See, having, come full circle an hour in, if you have more access, good, Carla, to your armpits and your side ribs. Lindsay V, that's excellent. Good, Mary Beth. All right. Mary Beth, I'm going to have you now do full arm balance, but I'm going to take everyone into some counter poses. All right. So now when you're ready, I'm going to come back down on the floor and we're doing Chatuspadasana. Mary Beth, you can go up to full arm balance and you'll see how the leg will fly up because of all the hamstring work, but be with your arms. All right. So this one, this room is very, very messy. All right. So I promised you we would start working more on Chatuspadasana. So it's such an important pose for glute strength. So I like to use a belt. That's good, Mary Beth. And I've looped the short belt. Now watch everyone. So for those of you who have knee issues, look, you're not gonna, so the classic way to do this is you toe the shins, you bring the heels in as close to the buttock bones as your knees allow. But those of you who have knee issues, then you have to walk the feet out. It would be detrimental to bring the heels so close in. All right, so then I put the belt across my ankles, and then we're gonna do a lot. We're gonna press the feet, press the head, and lift up. Now, Peggy and others, you might find that for the very first one, you need your blanket underneath your shoulders and the head is off. We're doing at least 15 because you have to, having worked our hamstrings very much, I want to do a counter and Mary Beth, that's really good. All right, so we're doing Chatuspadasana. You can get a belt and we'll see. So this is for your hamstrings, for strengthening your hamstrings. That's good, Mary Beth. Now, if you want, you can do one-legged, meaning take right leg down, be with your arms, lift the right leg up, and then left leg down, be with your arms, yes, and left leg up. And in that manner, if you want to challenge yourself, Mary Beth, see if you can take the right foot all the way to the floor, like Parsvottanasana upside down. Okay, Chatuspadasana, everybody, when you're ready. Fire up those buttocks. Fire up those hamstrings. If you want to make it harder, put a blanket between the thighs. That's it, Tony. Make sure the feet are apart, though, Tony. Right. The backs of your hamstrings should be speaking to you. Now, Mary Beth, you can do the Chatus. All right. Now, raise your heels up to get more height in the buttock. Lift the heels up. Lift the heels up, buttocks up, good Tony, heels up, buttocks up, good Elaine, buttocks up, heels up, and come down. All right, now go back up. This time, raise the toes off the floor so that the thoracic spine moves in. Toes up this time. That gets more to the back body and increases the distance between the armpit, chest, and the upper arms. It's grunt work. Now, for those of you, and it certainly helps, take your upper arm and lower arm at a right angle and use the arms to lift up. So now both feet flat on the floor, press the elbows down, have the palms facing each other, and lift up, lift up. lift up, keep going, lift up. In lifting up, don't let the legs part. If the thighs begin to look like Baddha Konasana, then put your block or a blanket between the thighs. That's it. Keep going up, going up. All right. And now slowly take the knees into the chest. All right, we're going to do a supported Setu Bandha. I think for most people, it works best with 2 blocks side by side on the tall side. Those of you who, and we talked about this last week, those of you whose tall block is not tall enough, then use a hardcover book underneath that, right? So, you know, when we were back in the studio, we all had access to these half bricks. So for some of you, the tall side of the brick isn't tall enough. Your pelvis was sinking. So you can place it in this manner, you see? So let me just show. All right, so you have the bricks off to the side, and then you set them just like you did. You press the feet, press the head, and I'm putting the block underneath my sacrum. So now my pelvis, because some of you, what I saw last week, the brick was too low, and it actually caused your pelvis to sink. So that's why I had asked you all to have some kind of hard cover in your room. What do you call it? Not hard, yeah, hardcover book, about 1 inch, 1.5 inches thick. So you could put it underneath the high side of the brick. All right, Beth, you have a question? You have to unmute.
Yeah, it's not good in my sacrum to push something hard into it. I can do it on 2 tall blocks with a blanket over.
Oh yeah, that's fine, of course. Yeah, not a problem. I mean, you can even do a bolster or blanket. Yeah, I mean, I understand people don't like, you know, they don't like the feel of, especially the wood is hard. Cork is a little bit easier. There's also foam blocks that we had in the studio, and they work well. All right, that's it. Good, Carla. Now make sure the shoulders, Peggy, are down. Make sure that, yeah, they're more likely to be down now because we did all those chatusas. Watch the feet though, Lindsay. Make sure the feet are parallel to each other. Yeah. And then we're going to come back to Viparita Karani. Yeah, that's fine, Beth. Yeah, I mean, there's a 4 bolster Setu Bandha. There's a 6 bolster Setu Bandha. Of course, no one has 6 bolsters. So, because here's the thing, when you use the bricks are narrow, and oftentimes people need a wider setup. Okay. So Gail, we're doing supported Setu Bandha, and then we're going to take the knees into the chest, hold the bricks so they stay in their place, and stretch the legs to 90. Now, this is Viparita Karani, but it's not the same Viparita Karani, have the feet apart, that we did earlier on in class. This is often the Viparita Karani that we do if there's no wall space. But the classic way is how we did at the very beginning. I will say that some of you might feel more stable with 2 blocks side by side. Carla, do you have them side by side? Okay, look, yeah. I find that the 2 blocks side by side are better for the sacrum. Elaine, just stay with the feet down, of course. Okay, Peggy, that's good. Peggy, the legs are going a little bit beyond 90 to be picky, but just take them back toward the blank wall. Yeah, okay, good. Gail, your legs also, it's funny, we've stretched our hamstrings, now everyone's legs are beyond 90. That's not a terrible thing. But let them just be at 90, have them be apart, and relax your diaphragm. Carla, that's good. So just as a, to wrap up, still stay in Viparita Karani, I'll take you out of it. One of the things I wanted to do today was to explore wider legs, decentralized, narrow legs, the classic way, to see how that affects the length of your side ribs. Now, principally, when you have a decentralized stance, you have more access to your side walls of the rib cage, like we saw in Prasarita Padottanasana, so you can adjust. The narrower the legs are, the harder it is to feel and to adjust. So that was kind of the, to broad stroke, the lesson plan today. But this is something in which you can incorporate into your practice, because we do want to lengthen our trunk evenly. All right, now, very slowly bend the knees. You can take one leg to the floor, then the other, which is easier than taking both feet to the floor at the same time. Then press the feet, press the head, shoulders, lift the pelvis up, take 1 or 2 blocks to the lowest side and bring the knees into the chest and just rest there. Just rest there in Dvipada, Pavanuttasana, or commonly known as Utkatasana. Just rest. You can bring the knees in. Just merge the legs with the chest. Feel the evenness of the pelvis, the evenness of the side ribs, and this is in a symmetrical pose. So you can really see the advantage of doing symmetrical poses before asymmetrical. So you achieve the symmetry of the ribs in symmetrical poses. And then your job is to establish the evenness in asymmetrical poses. And hopefully that belt, that traction belt in Supta 1 helped you. All right, now I think because we'll come into Shavasana, and I think the very best way to do Shavasana today to relax the hamstrings is to do it with your lower legs on the seat of the chair. And then if you want to, you can have the tall bolster that we used in Paschimottanasana to traction your lower spine away. So in this manner, this is a really nice setup for bent leg Shavasana. Initially, you can have the hands on the bolster to press the roots of the thighs back, but then as you stay longer, then you want to release the hands down by the side. You can do a prone Shavasana, good, Lindsay. That's really good with your ankles supported. Beautiful. Prone Shavasana also should feel really good. And if your mind is proliferating, even better. So once again, in Shavasana now, give yourself the very right and ripe conditions so that your body can indeed relax, which may mean going to the bathroom, dimming the lights, getting some blankets to cover you if you're cold. And again, settle down, settle back. The body in Shavasana is both alert, it's not a sleeping state, but it's tranquil. So if it's helpful to you to use the Gata, breathing in the here, breathing out in the now, then by all means, do so. Set aside once again that list to do, the planning, the remembering, the manipulating, the judging. Put it all down. And take delight in having arrived here now. Aligning yourself with relaxation. Feelings come and go like clouds on a windy day. May conscious breathing be your anchor. Breathing in the here, Breathing out in the now, in the now. Let the breath untangle the tangle. Cut the ties to the tangle. Let the thoughts, the concerns, the worries sink to the bottom. Allow the mind to literally step into presence. Step into presence. Breathing in and here and here. Breathing out in the now, in the now. Untangle the tangle. Let your mind step into presence. Let these words not be confined to just this Shavasana, but throughout the day, if you're becoming tangled in whatever, see if you can remember that gata and see if it helps you come back to now. So because I haven't seen many in some time, I'm going to stop the recording and we can chat a moment, perhaps even discuss what the future classes might look like, et cetera, et cetera.